Sorry, I was having some difficulty there. The answer for number 7 should be D. Okay, number 8. Pictured is an animal cell and a plant cell. Which organelle labeled in the animal cell produces the energy for the cell? So we are looking for the animal cell and produces energy. Okay. So I'm going to only look at the animal cell, which is the round one. The number 1 is pointing to the nucleus of the brain, and number 2 is pointing to the one that looks like it has a maze in it. And if you're in my class, I said the maze, M, and the mitochondria are the powerhouse. Okay, so I'm going to highlight organelle number 2, which is answer choice B. Answer choice B. So what are the components of cell theory? Remember, what does the cell theory tell us? All living things are made of cells, cell or cells, right? It could be just one cell. Okay, the second one says the cell is the basic unit of life. And the last part, all cells come from pre-existing cells. Okay. What cell components are responsible for inherited traits? So for this question, don't make it more complex. Where do we find the living material or the genes and the genetic material that we pass on to our offsprings? You should have said the nucleus. Okay, so in the chart, you should have learned behaviors, provide the definition for each of the example and an example. So remember, learn things are things that you learn. Or better yet, you could say traits, characteristics that you learn, how to speak, what language. So I'm going to put my example as spoken language, but it could be like what you wear. So spoken language is what I'm going to write down. All right, and then the next one for learn or inherited traits, these are the things that you get from your parents. So this is the genes, traits, characteristics. On your DNA. You get from your parents. Remember, you get a copy from dad and a copy from mom. And these things would be things that about you that you can't necessarily control, that you can't really change. My example is going to be height. Okay. What is uniform offspring? And then it asks us about diverse offspring. So I'm going to start with uniform. Uniform is like a uniform. You're all going to look similar. So uniform is the same to the parent. One parent. Remember, this would be asexual reproduction. While diverse is different. It's a mixture of both parents. Okay, of both parents' genes. The next question, this is the one that you're filling in the organelles. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to type them in and you can double check that you had them right. Okay, I've typed them up. So number 1, it's pointing towards the nucleus. So number 1 is the nucleus. Maybe I can use this to point. Maybe this one's better. The nucleus, okay? Number 2 is pointing to this area right here, which is the cell wall. Remember, this is a plant cell. Okay, number 3, just skip. We didn't learn about that this year. Number 4, the chloroplast. Remember, that's the green kitchen. It looks like it has money in it to me, or pancakes, if we're thinking about the green kitchen and making food. Number 5 is the cytoplasm. It's the yellow area, the open space. The number 6 is the cell membrane. Remember, that's right inside the cell wall. Plants and animals both have that one. Number 7, we can skip. Number 8, the vacuole. Remember, this is the central vacuole. In plants, they have one. In animals, we have more than one. And number 9 is the one that looks like the maze. It's yellow in this picture. It's the mitochondria or the mitochondrion. Either one is acceptable. Okay, so number 4 or 14, you're going to fill in the advantages and disadvantages of asexual reproduction. So you should have some advantages. I'm going to type those up, so I'll pause the video again. Okay, so number 14 is now filled in. So the advantages of asexual reproduction. Don't have to find a mate. Offspring reproduces quickly. It's allowing us to have more population growth. Some disadvantages of asexual: high death rate. Offspring is identical, so they're not adapting very well to their environment. They're not changing. And an example of asexual would be Hydra, but we've talked about so many sponges, bacteria, etc. Sexual reproduction: 2 parents, diverse or fit offspring, so they're able to survive in their environment. Remember, this is what we talked about when we talked about adaptation earlier this year. Parents care for offspring, so that helps with survival rates. Some disadvantages is it requires more energy to find a mate. Also takes longer for the mother to have the offspring, so the offspring takes longer to grow. And then my example is lions. Okay, and then 15, you have this table to fill in. I'm going to fill it in, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have the nucleus, which is the brain, and it controls the cell. Okay, the cell membrane is the fence gate. It's the thin protective layer around the cell that controls what comes in and out. So it's just the layer around, so it's just an outline. The cell wall is the brick wall or the bones, and it gives support and structure. And remember, it's on the very outside of the cell. The mitochondrion or the mitochondria is the powerhouse. It produces energy for the cell, and it's the one that looks like it's a maze. Okay, the chloroplast is the green kitchen. It uses sunlight to make sugar for the mitochondria to use. This is the one that's usually green, and it kind of looks like it has pancakes or money stacked inside of it. And then cytoplasm is the jelly. It holds the organelles. And the last one is the vacuole, the storage bag. It stores the water, other things like the waste and food, but it usually looks like the swimming pool inside of the plant cell. And then for the animal cell, it's just little dots usually, or circles. All right, so make sure that you have corrected your review and resubmit it And then make sure you're studying it for your test. You do need to know the organelles. You do need to know the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. You do need to know some organisms that reproduce asexually or some organisms that reproduce sexually. All right, I hope that helped.